Hello everyone, my name is Ashley Nicole, also known as the Redhead Hairstylist. I'm going to be showing you my no foundation makeup routine and top knot. If this is your first time here, hit the like and subscribe button for more of my videos. Okay, so for starters, I'm just going to be getting all the knots out of my hair, which I think is pretty self-explanatory, and then I'm going to be brushing all of my hair back right where I want my top knot to be placed on my head. I don't like it too high, and I also don't like it too low. I like it somewhere in the middle, and I find that that fits my face shape best and doesn't pull too hard on my hairline. Make sure you smooth it out as best as you can because you don't want any bubbles with this hairstyle. So after I gather all of that exactly where I want it to be, I'm just going to tie it off with a regular hair tie. I don't use anything fancy for this. I just find that these work the best for my hair because my hair is pretty thick. Also, make sure you have your bobby pins out. That's very important for making this top knot. And then I'm just going in and using my fingers to pull some of my hair forward. This gives me a little bit more volume, and it also helps loosen up my hairline a little bit so my top knot or ponytails that I do don't pull on my hairline and give me a headache. I'm also going to be pulling down some of those baby hairs in the front because I want this to be a little lived in. And then after that, I'm going to be wrapping the hair around itself and twisting as I go to help make this bun. Once you're done wrapping it, you're going to want to take your ends and tuck them underneath the bun. This way they're not poking out. And then you're going to take your bobby pins and you're going to secure that down to your head and make sure that you're holding it as best as you can with your hand so this way it doesn't unravel as you're pinning. I don't usually let go of my bun with my free hand until I'm about 50% or more pinned down. I don't want to lose the shape of this, and I don't want to have to redo it again. This is supposed to be quick and easy, not a hassle. So it's kind of hard to see here, but what I'm doing with the bobby pin is I'm pushing it into the bun and then into my hair and then pushing that bobby pin to the side, so this way it really anchors down my bun. And then every so often I kind of move my bun around once I have it secured enough that I don't have to hold it the whole time with my free hand to kind of make sure that I'm getting the shape that I'm looking for. Alright, as you can see, my top knot's done, and now we're going to move on to the makeup portion of this. This is my no foundation makeup routine. It's for when I'm very lazy and it works very well. So as I showed in my last video, I'm going to be using my oil-free moisturizer from Trader Joe's. If you didn't see that video, you should totally watch it. And I'm going to be using patting and upward motions to apply this because you don't want to go down as that can create more wrinkles on your face. So after moisturizing, I'm going to be using my buffing foundation brush by e.l.f. and my Anastasia Beverly Hills foundation stick in the shade Fawn to contour my face. I really do like using this contour not only because the shade that it's in and how it works for my skin tone, I also like that it has some coverage to it. As I said in my last video, if you're the kind of person that feels like you need a little bit more coverage, feel free to go in with your favorite concealer and add that to the underneath of your eyes and any problem spots that you have. As you can see, I apply my contour the same as I would if I had foundation on. It goes in the same places because either way we're still trying to create the same shadow effect. I'm going to go in with my MAC Studio Fix Plus primer and setting spray, and I'm just going to spritz my face real light and then, well, I guess not real light, I'm practically dousing myself it looks like. But I'm going to go in and buff that afterwards, and it's still wet on my face. I find that this helps me blend out my contour, especially when I'm not using foundation. It's just a preference of mine. I find that I get a more airbrushed and more seamless effect when I do this with my contour. I'm also not doing this very rough on my face. Most things that I do with my makeup, I don't do very rough. I actually do it very light-handed because you don't want to be rough on your face. So I'm just buffing this out, and I'm using small circular motions that are directed back towards my hairline to blend it. I don't want to blend it the opposite way because I don't want it to be too wide by my nose and my mouth. I want this to be wider and more blown out towards my hairline and ear. And I'm also making sure that I'm blending this really well up into my hairline, because not only do I have my hair up, so it would be more noticeable if I didn't, but I do want everything to look as cohesive as possible. This routine in total takes me about 15 to 20 minutes. It really depends, because sometimes I honestly search on my phone YouTube videos to listen to or a podcast to listen to in the morning, so really depends on how long it takes me to find something to listen to while I'm getting ready. Something that I do that kind of speeds up this process for me is making sure that my makeup is organized and out for me, so this way when I go to put it on in the morning, I know exactly where it is. So for my jawline, I'm just using, again, those really small circular motions and pulling it back towards my ear and just blending it out exactly where I placed it, because that's where I want it to be the most concentrated first. After I blend that line out as best as I can, that's when I start to blur it out a little bit more and bring it underneath my chin. And I do that very lightly. I really don't bring a lot underneath my chin. It's just enough to help define my jawline a little bit more and slim my neck down a little bit. I bring that down right on the sides of my throat to just kind of help define it and marry all of that together. For my nose, I just blend that out by going up and down and using circular motions from time to time. I try to keep this exactly where I already placed my contour. I really don't want to blur it out too much. I just want it to blend in with the rest of my face. Now I'm going in with my Maybelline Cheek Heat in the shade Nude Burn, and I'm going to be just patting that onto my cheeks real quick with my fingers and following that up with my Morphe brush. I'm using an M439 to help stipple this out onto my cheeks and adding more when I need it. As I've mentioned, I always try my best to use just stippling motions when applying my face makeup because I don't want to irritate my skin. I find that rubbing and pulling tends to irritate it and make it redder than me just stippling it. And if it's something that I really can't stipple so that it blends out, then I make sure that I use as light of a hand as I possibly can to blend it out. Alright, so now I'm going to set this down and add a little bit more coverage with my MAC Studio Mineralized Skin Finish Powder in the shade Light Plus. I'm going to be using my big fluffy brush, which I don't know the brand for, it was a gift. And I'm just going to put some on there and then stipple that on all over everything. I'm just stippling it on all over. I'm not really using any rubbing motions because I just want to put this on to help matte down my skin a little bit and prevent me from getting oily later, and to just give it a little bit more coverage. This is a very light coverage powder. In fact, it really doesn't give me much, but I do find that it softens any areas on my face that are red or a little bit pink, because I do tend to get a pink face. I don't really know why, but I do. And it also helps set down my contour and my blush that I put on, even though my contour does set matte. And I would say the blush kind of sets more on the dewy side. I just prefer to put a little bit on there just in case, because I don't want it to slide down on my face later. And yes, even though I do apply this very quickly, I am still using as light of a hand as possible, especially underneath my eyes. That's a very delicate area and you don't want to be too rough. Like my last video, I'm putting a little bit extra on my forehead and on my chin and on my nose because that's where I tend to get very oily. And I'm also putting a little bit extra on underneath where I place my contour just to make that pop through a little bit more. So after setting down my makeup, I'm going to be going in with my Tarte Tartelette All Mattes OG, might I add, palette, and I'm going to be using the shade Wanderer, and I'm going to be taking that and placing it really close to my lash line and packing it on there first with a patting motion. And after I put on just enough, I'm going to take that and blend it up towards my brow into my socket and just blend that out. I want this to be a nice light wash of color, just to bring my eyes out a little bit more and to kind of bring everything together. After I pack that color onto my lid by my lash line, I start to use almost like a side-to-side windshield wiper motion to bring it up. And then I start to use circular motions to make sure that I'm blending it out and keeping it very soft. I don't want any harsh lines when I'm doing this because I want it to be very natural. And I also make sure that I pack a little bit extra of the eyeshadow towards my outer corner because that's where I want it to be more prominent. I want it to be prominent by my lash line and by the outer corner. I don't want it to be too dark on the inside corner of my eyes because I don't want them to look smaller. If anything, I want them to look bigger. Once I'm done with that first color application, I go back in and I apply a little bit more down by my lash line again and by the outer corner. And if I need to, I'll blend that up. If not, I'll just leave it. After that, I'm gonna go and just run a little bit right underneath my lash line to accentuate my eyes a little bit more, make them pop, make me look alive and awake. Okay, so now that I'm almost done rising from the dead, I'm gonna take my spoolie and just brush out my eyelash extensions. If you don't have those, you can just go ahead now and apply your mascara. And if you really wanna make it pop, you can add some falsies too. Now I'm going to take that brush that I used earlier to set down my makeup and just brush away any fallout that I have because I don't want to keep that on my face. It is not a look without highlights, so I'm going to be going in with my favorite by Becca Cosmetics in the shade Pearl. And I'm going to be following my outer corner down to the top of my cheekbone. I'm going to pat the highlighter right there first because that's where I want it to be the most prominent. And then I'm going to slowly feather it out with windshield wiper motions back and forth, feathering it towards my hairline and then a little bit down towards my nose. I try to not have my highlight go past my pupil when I'm looking straight forward because I don't want to pull my face down, and I also don't want a lot of highlighter on my face either. After I do that, I'm gonna go and just pop that right above my eyebrows, kind of close to my temple. Then I'm gonna hit the bridge of my nose, the tip of my nose, and my cupid's bow, as long as a tiny bit on my chin. And I do all of this with a very light hand. You don't want it to be too heavy, and you want it to just be nice and soft. We're looking for a healthy glow. I personally tend to not dip back into the highlight when I go to do my nose and cupid's bow and chin because I don't like a lot there. If you want more, you can always add more, but I always recommend doing a little bit first and gradually adding it on. After that, I'm going to be going in with my MAC Fix Plus setting spray and letting that dry down. And I'm going to be applying some lip gloss. This is by Julep. One of my friends got it in an Ipsy box and gave it to me because she didn't really like the color. I personally love it because it's a very light color and I use a very small amount. I actually wipe off a lot that's on the applicator into the bottle first before applying it because I don't like them to be super sticky and gloppy, and I also tend to get my hair stuck in my lip gloss a lot. Alright guys, so this is the finished look. Depending on when you see this, you may be going back to work and wanting to try this, or you could be like me right now and stuck at home. But like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye!